Welcome to Come Well to Amias as I am, as you are. Visit asyouare.com today and purchase your products, book our services and consultations, and enroll in the classes and courses. Visit asyouare.com today. Now, without further ado, let's begin today's show. Quick announcement. The first 10 students to enroll in the classes and courses on the website receive 3 free products for a total of $70 free. The first product is Crystal Clear. The second product is Urban Love. And the third product is Spray. 3 free products upon enrollment. Also, each student receives 1 ring upon graduation. 1 ring upon graduation. Rings made of stone and crystal. Those receive a $40 discount if paid in advance. Full price if paid into payments. Come take your consciousness and your spirituality to the next level. Now let's begin today's show. Yes, Amias as I am, as you are. Today's video is entitled Dimensional Transformation Techniques. This deals with the mental and the mind, really, and to understand that we are all inside of some kind of geometrical dome. Mentally, psychologically, and there's ways of superseding or expanding these transparent geometrical mind states. Before we go into today's show, first you must have a blueprint of distinction of different mental dimensions and an understanding of the differences between a dimension, a realm, and a plane, i.e. plane of existence. The difference between a realm, a dimension, and a plane. The higher the vibration, the more successful the transcension. The transcension means from one geometrical blueprint to the next, from one mental state to the next, graduating, transcending mental state of existence. The higher the dimension, the more transparent, undetected, and untouchable you become to your prior dimension. Okay, so it's going to get into a lot of mind stuff in this show today. But these are techniques and things to keep in mind and heart as you are expanding your dimension and superseding it and transcending it to other super dimensions or transdimensional mental states of existence. This also deals with if you are, in the process of manifesting things, superseding what we call space, time, and distance. These are things to keep in mind in order to fine tweak your divine design. Okay? Which is your being. So I'm just going to go, just a quick run through of what, third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth, all the way to seventh dimension. And what these dimensions are called. Now, when I talk about dimensions, I'm talking about a way of thinking, a certain mentality, a certain mind state, This is where you get to see what dimension that you currently exist within in this moment. And in order to supersede to the next dimension, this is what this dimension governs. To supersede beyond that, this is how this dimension thinks. If you think like this, then you are in this dimension. If you think like this and you function and operate like this day to day, then you are in this dimension. Now, the more higher the dimension, as I mentioned before, the more transparent, undetected, and untouchable you become. Which means the quicker the manifestation process begins to occur and appear. Okay, so we pretty much know third dimension. I guess that's dealing with time, space, and distance, and you think separation exists, and this is how you think. You think separately. You think that's bad, that's good, that's wrong, that's right, that's pure, that's impure. You think in sides. You think in third dimension. You try to fix a third dimensional problem with a third dimensional way of thinking. It doesn't work. So this is third dimension, which is known as the shape called the cube. Okay? Four-sided, of course, a cube or a square. This is third dimensional thinking, kind of like human behavior, human condition, mental conditioning. But we're seeking the unconditioned mental states of existence. Now, fourth dimension. This is known as the shape called the tesseract. It's a shape called the tesseract. Fourth dimensional thinking means that this is one who is playful with time, or playing with the concept of what we call time. You begin to play with time and say, is time really real? Is it not real? But you begin to supersede space, distance, and time, which is of the third dimension of the cube mindset. This is why people say, yo, stop thinking, oh, you're square. You're a square. You acting real square. You thinking real square. Stop being a square. This is where this comes from, the cube mindset, the third dimensional mind state. Well, it's not really the mind, it's actually more of the brain. Because as you supersede these dimensions, you graduate from brain into mind function, which means you begin to cultivate a mind. Okay, so fourth dimension is known as the shape called, or the geometrical blueprint called the tesseract. Thinking, if you are someone who plays with the concept of time, who's beginning to stitch or see evidence and proof of a past, present, and future existing in one moment, and you begin to play with these supposed separations of these things and start to knit and sew and stitch, you can see something of the past is in the present. You can see something that you wanted in the future is coming to the present, or the present is actually the future. You begin getting glimpses of things in your day-to-day, moment-to-moment life. Then you are in the fourth dimension. This is one who plays with the concept of time, the aspect of time. One who begins understanding interconnectedness. You begin understanding, or this is one who understands or is trying to understand the understanding of interconnectedness. This is fourth dimension still. Fourth dimension is one who thinks in holistic views, who begins to play with this holistic-ism, tries to make things whole rather than keeping things separate as third dimensional. Brain function. You are trying to graduate from the brain into the first stage of the mind, which is the fourth dimension, which is the tesseract. Fourth dimension minds also, they do complex problem solving. They begin to approach complex problem solving situations. So if you're one who tries to problem solve something complex or something that may seem complicated to 9 out of 10 people, but you begin approaching that. At one time you wasn't approaching that, but now you're like, you know what? Let me approach this in a different way. Let me see if I can get something out of this. This is fourth dimensional thinking. And last but not least of fourth dimensional thinking is, well, two more. You begin viewing things from a multi-perspective. You have a multi perception, and you begin developing a multi-perspective on things. You see one thing maybe as 3, 4, 5 different ways of problem solving. So this goes back to the complex problem solving mind state. You see one thing where somebody would try in third dimension would see one issue and try to approach it as one way to problem solve that issue. But you see that one issue and you begin to look at it from a multi-dimensional, multi-directional view. You give it a multi possibility of solving that issue or that problem. Whereas somebody in third dimension, the cube mind, the square, will try to solve this one issue by looking at it from one perspective. You see it in quadri, different multi-dimensional point of views, which your mind becomes multi-directional. Now this is how one begins to breaking up the illusion. Like you have one sun, but there's 7 spectrums of color in this one ray shining upon us every day. So you become, or you graduate to become, this is kind of a graduatory process towards becoming the Son of God, in a way of understanding, okay? Last but not least, on fourth dimensional thinking, if you begin to perceive emotional states as layers, this is one who begins to perceive their emotional states as layers. When you begin to perceive emotional states as layers, this is a freedom and a liberating process in progress that you can begin to, if you apply what you attain, if you apply the gnosis and knowledge that you begin to attain, you can begin unlayering these layers from you in order to see the true core of your being. So, because people take these emotional layers and they glue it to their being and they can't see nothing beyond that. I'm just emotional. This is the way I am. I'm always pissed off. I'm always this way. Or I'm always happy. I'm always blissful. I'm just a happy person. I'm a mad person. Whatever it may be, these emotional states, you no longer glue it to you. You now see them as layers upon each other. And when you begin seeing that, you begin having some kind of self-reflection. That's self-awareness. And self-awareness graduates into self-reflection. You begin to self-reflect when you begin to see emotional states as layers, because these emotional vibrations and waves can be very possessive, very gluing, very bonding, very binding, very adhesive to the being, and can kind of keep the being from knowing or contacting its true beingness. Real shit. Okay? This deals with chakra work. Fifth dimension. The fifth dimensional geometrical blueprint or prism or shape is called a pentaract. This is a pentaract. Fifth dimension is a pentaract shape. The fourth dimension is the tesseract. The fifth dimension is known as a pentaract. Now, these shapes are actually how you are thinking, literally. These are different states. These are different dimensions and different shapes, but these different shapes are actually different states of mentalism and of mentalities, of mental way of being, a mental way of thinking. Okay? So people in fifth dimension these people who are in fifth dimension, they think in scientific observation, or they have a scientific observation on things. They approach things from a scientific point of view. They're not just accepting the chemistry that was shown to them. They begin approaching it as the chemist, as the scientist, and begin to put a science to it in order to conduct a specific formula of understanding according to their perception and their interpretation. So this is when you begin to observe things from a scientific mindset, a scientific perception, and have a scientific perspective on things. Fifth dimensional beings deal with critical thinking. So fourth dimension is complex thinking. Fifth dimension is critical thinking. So it gets more and more serious. It gets more and more synthesized. It gets more and more to the core, more and more to the middle, to the median point of what things really are. You want to know. You really like, okay, I have to know what this is. I must know what it is. So these are people who deal with critical thinking. Fifth dimensional beings also deal with spirituality. I guess between fourth and fifth is when one can actually claim or can actually say that they are having a transdimensional crossover into the spiritual gnosis or into the spiritual realm of existence. When they made contact with that. Fifth dimensional thinking and beings also view signs, or they're sign viewers. They begin to view signs and begin to see signs of something else communicating to them, something else that has contacted them, even though they may not be able to explain it, describe it, articulate what they're feeling, what they're going through, but they know, and they're viewing these signs that are happening around them. And it looks like a pattern. It looks random, but it's actually, you actually begin to see a patternizing within the randomness of these occurrences and these specific happenings. You start to say to yourself, something ain't random here. This is kind of like a pattern. I don't know, there's something going on. This is that spiritual understanding. You've made contact and it's now communicating back to you. Fifth dimensional thinkers or beings are also seek deeper meaning. So if you are one who is seeking deeper meaning in your existence throughout your experience, you are a fifth dimensional being. You are doing fifth dimensional thinking. You have a fifth dimensional mental state. Okay? Fifth dimensional beings are also of connecting faith. They deal with faith. And like I said, when you begin to have faith in something and you see this something interacting back with you in some kind of way of understanding within you, then the trust will begin, or the trust will blossom naturally from the faith. Once you give something faith, you see an interaction. You see some kind of thing beginning to interface with you. You may not be able to explain it or describe it or articulate it, but you just know. You know for a fact something else is going on here. Something else which is unseen and it's kind of unknown and unseen to 9 out of 10 people. 9.9 out of 10 people can't see it. For the damnedest of them, can't seem to get to know it. But something that unseen and that unknown is saying something to me, and it has contacted me, and it is communicating to me. What is that? That's fifth dimensional beings and fifth dimensional thinkers. Sixth dimension. The sixth dimensional beings, or the sixth dimensional geometrical shape or geometrical mind state and mind shape, is called a hexaract. It's called a hexaract. So when people say, I'm gonna put a hex on you, you say, okay, fine, good, do that. That's a certain dimensional mind, a certain state of mind. Cool, no problem. As a matter of fact, I already hexed myself because I am sixth dimensional. So people don't know what these things really mean. But the sixth dimension is called a hexagon. This is what the geometrical shape, a hexagon or a hexaract, if you want to say as well, hexagon, hexaract. Sixth dimensional beings think spiritual, metaphysical, and they do scientific exploration. They begin to explore the hidden science of the spiritual workings from a metaphysical point of view. Metaphysical. Meta, transcend. Physical means the tangible. So to transcend beyond the tangible, that is metaphysical. This is six-dimensional beings, which is known as the geometrical shape called the hexagraft. Keep in mind of these shapes, because these shapes, as you can see, it gets more and more, it looks like it gets more and more complex. It gets more and more lines are in between these shapes. Horizontal, diagonal, straight across. These shapes, these cuts, these lines are actually symbolic of what is known as a paradigm. So the more lines a shape shows, the more paradigms that you are witnessing and you are knowing is something that's occurring. Dimension, paradigm, and realm. Within a dimension is a paradigm. A paradigm is a pattern, as I was speaking about before. It's a certain kind of pattern or routine that begins to reveal itself inside of the dimension that you exist within. When you follow this paradigm in the dimension that you exist within in the present moment, that paradigm creates a path for you to enter into a realm. When you enter into a realm, you begin to find yourself in a different plane of existence. Dimension, paradigm, realm, plane. Dimension, paradigm, realm, plane. It's in this specific order. As you follow this from dimension all the way to the plane of existence, you are transcending these dimensional shapes and these dimensional mind states. Literally, you are mind graduating. You are not only transcending higher mind states or deeper mind states, but you're also transcending this physical reality, and you're becoming literally more and more unphysical, more and more intangible. Not tangible, intangible. You're becoming more and more translucent, more and more transparent. This is why this deals with manifestation, because when you become more transparent, you're not so stuck to the problems, the human conditional problems and human conditional issues that this third dimensional cube-like experience is governed within. You're no longer governed within it. When you begin to graduate, I would say from the fifth dimension and on officially, because fourth is actually just graduating from the third. Even though you begin to see space, time, and distance as an illusion, you begin to see like there is no space, time, there's no past, future, and present. There's just right now, and I can knit and stitch all these different supposed different places all in one space of existence. So as you are going from one dimension to the next, you're leaving that last dimension. You graduate from this dimension, go to the next, you're leaving this dimensional mind state. So you're becoming more and more untouchable, undetected, and transparent. And you're literally transcending this physical reality. Literally. Okay? Going back to six-dimensional beings and how they think. Six-dimensional thinkers, they see and know all timeline realities and parallel universes simultaneously. So you begin to see and know all timeline realities and parallel universes simultaneously. Once again, stitching all the things and supposed places into one space of existence and dealing with it accordingly from that point, from that mindset forward. Okay? Six-dimensional beings and thinkers have God-like perception. God-like perception. So if somebody says they're putting a hex on you, that means they're putting a God-like perception on you, because it's called a hexagraft. Okay? This is six-dimensional thinkers, six-dimensional beings. Six-dimensional beings and six-dimensional thinkers also begin creating different realities. If you are creating different realities right now, you are a hexaractal being. You are a six-dimensional mind, a six-dimensional geometrical state of existence. Literally. And if you keep looking at these shapes that they keep showing themselves, these more cuts, more lines that go through it, more and more through it, it's beginning to reveal something in the middle. It's a core that's beginning to reveal itself. It almost looks like an eye or a pupil or an iris is coming out of the middle of the geometrical shape, like it's coming out at you. This is how you begin, because something is looking at you. You're looking and viewing something, but the more you view it from these different mental states of existence and these different geometrical ways of thinking, the more you're looking at it, the more something begins looking back at you. This is when you become the all-seeing eye. Not the all-seeing I as in E-Y-E, but the all-seeing me, the all-seeing you, the all-seeing I. So if it's not seeing it with these two eyes, Mama told you, look at the synonym for the word heart. You get the word I as in E-Y-E. So when these two eyes are closed, this eye is open. This is the eye that begins looking back at you when you're looking at something with these two eyes, as you see in the geometrical shapes. It's starting to look like an iris, and a pupil is beginning to reveal itself in the middle of these geometrical shapes. And these are different mind states. This is why you begin to interface with that intelligence, with that divine intelligence. Interface. You're looking at it, and it is looking back at you. And in this interface, you begin spiritual and solar interaction with it. This is real shit. Six-dimensional beings and six-dimensional thinkers are a multi-dimensional being and multi-dimensional weaver. As I was talking about before, you begin to stitch these things. Like these shapes behind me, once again, sacred geometry is also known as different geometrical mind states. Sacred geometry is the process of synthesization, to synthesize, to break down that shell and go in the core of there, and break down that shell and go in the core of that shell, break down that shell and go in the core of that shell. It's constantly synthesizing, which this middle begins to appear, which is where you see this eye in the beginning of these geometrical shapes. Literally, an eye begins looking back at you. This is where you get the godlike perception. You get you become the all-knowing and the all-seeing eye. This is science. Literal. So it's not like I'm speaking some magical language to you. I'm talking about something that you can't understand. It's very understandable if you have cultivated a mind. This is all like Gerber. This is baby food. This should be simple shit to you. But we just don't know how to, we don't understand the science. We hear things from people, and they're saying this and they're saying that, but there's really no understanding, because it's kicked to us in a fantastical, mythological, allegorical, metaphorical wordplay, but there's no literal, simple terminology of the understanding of it. We get a knowledge, but there's no understanding. Give it to me in a way that I can understand and I can apply it right now. This is what this is about. What my channel is about. Literally. And since I'm a simple being, I always tell the spirit, give it to me simple. I want to know it's simple, because I'm literally doing the work every moment of my life, of my physical life, of this human life. My point is transcension, or just to do the work, and wherever the work leads me, I follow. That's it. It's that simple. Know your path, know your mission, know your purpose. Six-dimensional beings and six-dimensional thinkers are reality manipulators. So if you are manipulating your reality by conducting, orchestrating, and manipulating the elements and the elemental forces around you, and you are actually seeing things that you are thinking up, that you wanted to happen, that you wanted to occur. It goes from people, places, and things, atmospheres, areas, whatever. And you see that you're actually manipulating, or you are literally intentionally manipulating your reality. You are a sixth-dimensional being. I'm giving explanations of different dimensions and different planes of existence, different geometrical mind patterns for you to understand where you're at. And where you can step off and build further on if you'd like to. Six-dimensional beings and six-dimensional thinkers are universal builders. You begin to build an actual universe by first building a celluverse or a cellular verse, a bioverse within your biosphere by your mindset. It's going to get a lot more simple. I'm just explaining the dimensions real quick at the moment so I can get into the techniques, or just certain things to keep in mind every day, every morning, every night, throughout your day. You keeping these things in mind, what I'm going to go into, the points, the doorways, and your reality is going to begin shifting right now, literally, during this video and right after this video. You're going to see it, you're going to feel it, you're going to know it. I don't got to say anything. Six-dimensional beings and six-dimensional thinkers, they see and know infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities. Six-dimensional beings and six-dimensional thinkers are limitless in their thinking, in their manifesting, in their element manipulating, or situation orchestrating. They are limitless. There is no limit. This is why you begin to transcend, once again, becoming the invisible, the translucent, the transparent. Remember, invisible doesn't mean that something is not there. Invisible means an internal visibility. So if something is not being seen on the outside, or an outside doesn't need to be seen, there is an internal thing that is visibly seeing something that the two eyes cannot see at the moment. So if something is invisible at the moment, that means the heart is seeing it. The all-seeing eye is viewing it. And it's only a matter of time before these two eyeballs begin to view what the all-seeing eye has been seeing the whole time. This is why this is about being of the heart, the nature of the heart. All this as well is all tools of understanding for the quantum field, the quantum reality, this whole quantum craze going on. The quantum, once again, is the Ka-Anu-Atum. Ka is the spirit, the Anu is the embodiment, and the Atum is the creator. So the spirit embodied creator, the Ka-Anu-Atum, the quantum, and the quantum field. The field is to feel. You have to feel the quantum intelligence. So field is spelled F-I-E-L-D, but you can also look at it as F-E-E-L-E-D. The quantum intelligence has to be felt. It is a feeling, and you can only feel, or the feeling locates itself pretty obviously within the heart and the heartbeat and the wave. That's why it's called a quantum field. It's a field of waves that protrudes from the beating and pulsation of the heart outward. Last but not least, seventh dimension. The seventh dimension is called the hepteract. It's a shape called a hepteract. A hepteract. And seventh dimensional beings and seventh dimensional thinkers, they move through realms where time does not exist. Seventh dimensional beings and thinkers move through realms where time doesn't even exist. When you're dealing with third to seventh dimension, from third dimension to the seventh, the fifth through seventh are not really dimensions anymore. You are superseding, you are graduating, you are transcending different dimensional mind states. Literally. So third and fourth dimension are, third is a dimension, we know that, it's a cube, it's a square. Fourth dimension is beginning to exit that square. This is why the square turns into the tesseract. As you can see, the tesseract is a shooting out of a smaller square in the middle, which was that cube in the third dimension. The cube is the third dimension. The tesseract, as you can see, is like something shooting out from the cube, becoming the next cube-like geometrical figure. So it's now leaving that cube. You are now leaving third dimensional thinking, and you're transcending and graduating into fourth dimensional way of thinking, a way of being, a mental, fourth dimensional mental state. Because you're trying to go from thinking into knowing, from thinking to understanding into knowing. This is the graduating process from third to seventh dimension. Third and fourth, third is a definite dimension. Fourth is a dimension / realm, because you're leaving third dimension. Fifth dimension is actually known as a realm. It's a realm. Sixth dimension is also known as a realm. And the seventh dimension is known as a plane of existence, not governed within time. So these are not really third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension. It's a certain kind of way of understanding, depending upon your knowledge. There's a third and a fourth dimension. When you go from fifth to seventh, it's no longer kind of dimensional in a way, because these lines begin to morph themselves as certain kind of openings and way outs of these geometrical prism-like structures. They become elongated. They begin to spike. More lines get put in it as you begin to go through different dimensional mind states. And I told you before, the more lines a geometrical shape has, every line is symbolic of a paradigm of communication, a certain spiritual pattern revealing itself to you more and more and more. And the more lines you see in a geometrical shape means that that's how many paradigms are revealing themselves to you and how many paradigms you're following. As you follow this paradigm, you begin to enter into a realm. Think of a dimension as a house or your home. A realm is a room. As you walk from your living room to your bedroom, that's symbolic of a paradigm. You know the pattern. You know to make a left around the refrigerator or a right around the refrigerator. That's a paradigm. That's a path. And then you approach your bedroom door, or you go downstairs, or you walk upstairs to your bedroom, and you approach your bedroom door. That door is an exit or an entrance into a room, which is a realm. This is why you must begin seeing realms inside of your dimension. How do I see that? By becoming spiritual, having a knowledge of self, a gnosis, and an understanding, which what I teach in my classes and my courses. And you begin to see these invisible, transparent realms right in your living room, right in your bedroom, in your car, at Walmart, at the gas station, outside your home, at family gatherings, at occasions, wherever, anywhere and everywhere. Around anyone and everyone, you begin to see these realms and feel these realms. Most importantly, you know these realms, and they're there. Something led you to that party. Something led you to that home. Something led you to that store. Something led you to that place. Nothing is by mistake, accident, or coincidence. Everything is perfect by divine design. That is a paradigm. Dimension, paradigm, realm. When you enter into this realm graduates into a plane of existence. You are outside of the boundaries of time. This is seventh plane. I can say seventh dimension for the sake of conversation during the video and understanding, but this is actually seventh plane. So there's third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth realm, sixth realm, seventh plane of existence. I can say third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or third, whatever, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension, but it's not all dimensions. It's only third and fourth. There's no fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension. I'm only saying dimension in relation with these geometrical shapes. From the tesseract to the pentaract to the hexaract to the heptaract. And it goes on. It keeps nanoing itself. It gets nano and more nano and more nano and more nano to the core of that core, and the core of that core, and the core of that core. An infinite synthesizing intelligence. Infinite synthesization. Reaching the middle, reaching the median. The shaman walks the middle path, the heart. Okay? I just wanted to touch upon that real quick before I go into a few techniques for today's video. Let's go into the first technique. Or the first doorway. Pardon me. Let me just talk about doorways. I'm going to the first doorway. Some of these have techniques, some of them don't, but these are all things to keep in mind moment to moment, day to day, throughout your human life. The brain and heart recreate the art. As I go upon the doorways, I'm going to say what is between what dimension, or what I'm explaining, and what dimension is within, or what dimensions it's between. Now, this is in between third and fourth dimension. The title of this doorway is called The Brain and the Heart Recreate Your Art. This is in between third and fourth dimension. Your heartbeat, in sync with the mirroring thought, beats that specific thought into a wave-created reality that you begin to navigate through for as long as the thought is being held. And the more time the thought is being held, the deeper that thought imprints itself in our experience. Thought plus feeling equals penetration. That penetrates what is known as, from a biological point of view, it's called cerumen, and it's inside the brain. It's a wax-like substance. This is where the wax comes out of your ears. It's coming out of your ears from the cerumen in your brain. So wax-like substance. Thought and feeling equals penetration. This penetration is a penetrating force that begins to penetrate the wax-like substance in your brain called cerumen. It's a substance called cerumen, and it penetrates it with strikes of synaptic carvings, synapses from one neuron to the next without the brain. This zapping, the synapse that's hitting one neuron to the next and communicating all neurons, this zapping going back and forth like this brain lightning, this is what pierces the wax and penetrates the wax-like substance in the brain called cerumen. This is what begins to actually create your reality, your physical reality, your tangible reality. Literally. Literally. Thought and feeling is electricity and magnetism, or lightning and wave, or current and harmony. These are doors to keep in mind. The next doorway, this is governed within third dimension. The false truth of the hands and the eyes. The false truth. The false truth of the hands and the eyes. I have a video on here called Why Do We Have Hands and Eyes? Y'all need to go check that out in relation with the point I'm going to touch upon. It gets a lot more clear, a lot more simple to understand. This doorway is governed within third dimension. The dimension of hands and eyes is the false dimension of doubt and worry. The false dimension of doubt and worry. It's a temporary state of existence, not a permanent vibration of being. What you see with the hands and eyes is a temporary state of existence. It's not a permanent vibration of being. It's not. So don't try to validate or look for proof of what you want to manifest with your hands and eyes. This cannot see a permanent vibration of beingness. It only sees a temporary vibration or temporary state of existence. It doesn't validate, it cannot confirm what is permanent. It can only confirm and validate what is impermanent and what is constantly changing. This is why when you manifest something, you don't look and say, okay, well, I don't see it yet. I'm not touching it. I'm not holding it. I'm not grabbing it. I'm not grasping it. I'm not hugging it. It's not here. I can't see it. I can't reach out to it. You're not supposed to. That's not how you validate the proof and evidence. The proof and evidence is in your state of being. It's there first and foremost. The hands and eyes is the nature of come and go. The hands and eyes is governed within the nature of come and go. It's a coming and a going. It's not a remaining and staying and sustaining intelligence. Next doorway. This is governed between the third and fourth dimension and higher pending dimensions thereafter. Okay, so this is in between the third and fourth dimension and higher pending dimensions thereafter. The human body and five senses, or the human body and its five senses. The body and its five senses can only see and interact with old contracts, old beliefs, and old agreements, which are no longer physically present. This is what the body and its five senses are about. The body and its five senses can only see and interact with old contracts, your old contract, your old beliefs, and your old agreements, which is why your home is constantly changing. Things in your car is constantly changing. Your life is constantly in transformation. Constantly. Every single nanosecond, every moment, it's in constant transformation. So what you see and interact with in the five senses, they only interact with old contracts, old beliefs, and old agreements, which are no longer physically present, which they weren't really physically present at all to begin with. The physical dimension is never a present reality. What we call this physical dimension, it is not a present reality. It never can be. It never was. It's a temporal realism. Notice I didn't say a temporal reality. I said a temporal realism. It seems like it has a real-like effect. But that's really what it is, a real-like effect. But there's nothing real to the physical dimension. It's not real. I'm going to clarify and make that more simple to be understood throughout the doorways. It is a temporal realism, a dimension that remains in constant transformation. In alignment with what? In alignment with the transforming mind's present focus, desire, intention, and vibration of the heart's beating. As your heart beats, every beat is a change in your atmosphere. Every beat is a change in your environment. Every beat is a change in your reality. So as long as your heart is still beating, every beat creates a different change in your life, literally, because you are feeling and thinking differently. So whatever you're feeling and thinking, like I said, once again, thought and feeling equals penetration. You begin to penetrate the waves of this physical dimension with every heartbeat. This is why this is not a permanent state of existence. This is a temporary state of realism, not a permanent reality, a temporary realism. That's the physical dimension, including the physical body. It is a dimension that remains in constant transformation, or transforming in alignment with the transforming mind and the transforming mind's present focus, desire, intention, and vibration of the beating of its heart, the beating of your heart, the beating of my heart, the beating of the heart. Next doorway is governed within fourth dimension and beyond. Fourth dimension and beyond. The Tesseract and beyond. What are we surrounded by? What do we call this? Do you call this your home? Do you call this your area? Do you call this your zip code? Yeah. Your state? Do you call this your city, your town, your country, your continent? What are we actually surrounded by? Is this nature? Is this an actual solid floor? Is this an actual solid wall? Is that an actual solid ceiling? Is that an actual solid floor? What are we actually surrounded by? What you call your surroundings and atmosphere, keep this in mind real quick, the word atmosphere. You got the word atmos. Atmos means feeling, mood, and ambiance. And atmosphere. Atmosphere. This is your atmosphere. Atmos means feeling, mood, and ambiance. So how can an atmosphere be physical or solid if its very makeup and material is nothing but feeling, mood, and ambiance? It's not physical, it's not solid, it's not tangible, it's intangible. It's a certain wave pattern from your feeling, a wave pattern of your mood, and an ambiance or an aura that emanates or radiates from your light. It is a light hologram. Let me go back to the point. What you call your atmosphere or your surroundings and atmosphere is nothing but a transparent wave pattern. It's nothing but an echo chamber. This is an echo chamber. This is not a home. I am not inside of this home. This home is inside of me. This video right now, you're not watching it with your two eyes. It's actually inside of you, and you're seeing it with your only eye, your one eye. If you have cultivated a mind during this video. And you cultivate a mind from the fifth realm and on. When you are in the fifth realm or the fifth dimension and forward, you begin to sprout the potential and possibility of a mind around the ending of fourth dimensional thinking. But that mind now grows from fifth realm onward, or fifth dimension onward, fifth realm onward. That's when you know you have a mind. You've cultivated a mind. The brain is a program. You can only think according to the program, which you're on automation. You're on automatic mode, which is what was called an automaton. When you graduate from an automaton and begin to think outside of the box, You begin to think outside of the square, outside of the cube, outside of the third dimension. You begin to sprout what is known as a mind, and the mind becomes cultivated. You begin to sprout a mind in fourth dimension, and the mind becomes fully cultivated and grown, not grown really, but begins to grow or sprout leaves on its stem in the fifth dimension or the fifth realm. Back to the doorway. What you call your surroundings, the atmosphere, is nothing but a transparent wave pattern, an echo chamber, and element ripples. It's element ripples, ripples of elements that seem to be physical, but in reality isn't, never was, and never can be. Physicality is not its true nature. Physical mechanics is not how it functions. Your atmosphere and your surroundings. What we call physical is an illusional mirage-like reflection reflecting from our being, mirroring the mental. So what we call physical is an illusional mirage-like reflection mirroring from our mental. Therefore, as the mind changes and the focus shifts, the supposed physical morphs and transforms simultaneously with the mental state in that same moment. Next doorway. This doorway is governed within the third dimension, fourth dimension, and fifth realm and beyond. So third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth realm and beyond. The relationship between time and physicality. What we call time and physicality is the temporary playground for the five senses. What we know as time only exists as a validator and confirmer of the mind's passing states of old agreements and old beliefs, old contracts, which aren't present and were never, ever present. Ever. This is why things break, things rip, things rot. They deteriorate, they corrode, they can get pierced, they can get broken, shattered. That's because nothing is here physical. Nothing. These states do not exist in the realm of your presence and the intelligence of your moment. They can only reveal to the eyes an old memory, old news, and a passing history. That's all that time can do. That is not a current reality. This is a certain method to do what I have in my home, throughout my home. I'll tell you the same thing. One of the methods you can apply. Put black dots throughout your home. That black dots. There's a dot behind me. It's not a dot per se, but it's a little, well, the tip of my finger. It's on my wall. I have certain circles or black dots and black points around my home. Put black dots or black points throughout your home. For what reason? As pausing moments or moments where you pause. And focus points to begin to stare into. Why? To ignore to begin ignoring the physical structure of your home and the physical objects throughout your home. For what reason? To begin mentally recreating with your peripheral vision the new dimension and the new outlook of what you desire your home to be and what you want your home to look like. Keep this in mind. Mental focus. Mental focus. I didn't say eyeballs focus or pupil focus, but mental focus manipulates the peripheral vision, which is the mental focus, peripheral focus, manipulates and creates physical dimensions. Manipulates and creates physical dimensions. This is where the understanding of particle, wave, and data. When your peripheral vision, this is, I'm looking at the camera. Around me, this is just data. This is an old agreement, an old history, an old belief, an old contract that I'm no longer a part of. It's in data form. Data form is what you call the blur. This is why you can focus on something that becomes clear, like 1080p HD, but what's around it is a blur. That blur is known as the data realm of existence. Until I shift my attention of my eyes and look at it, it becomes particle. But you create and you manipulate these elements around you by giving it your peripheral focus, your peripheral attention, not your direct attention at it. Not yet, because you're in creation mode. So these black dots that you begin to stare into as pausing moments in your home and focus points in your home, you begin to create in your creativity, which is actually known as the theta states, because theta is relaxation and creativity. You begin to relax and create what you want to see in your home by staring at these black dots around your home in the realm of data. Data slowly, not slowly, let me not say that, data gradually graduates into wave form. The wave, you are connecting in correspondence with the beating of your heart. You are becoming relaxed. That's how data, as you begin to use your creativity to create your home or your area or your car or wherever you want to be or wherever you're at, you're giving it that data, the graduation into the wave. The graduation into the wave is the relaxation of the heart. You begin to relax as you begin to create in your peripheral vision. That data graduates into the wave form, and the wave form soon becomes the particle formation. When you look at what you are creating with your eyeball, your pupil, you will now see the creative dimension that becomes physical. This is the science. Like I said, we are missing the understanding, the simple understanding of our ancient science. This is ancient technology. So this is what's happening. Mental focus, which is peripheral focus, manipulates elements and creates physical dimensions, literally. An unfocused focus point or unfocused focused state of being, because you're not focusing on the peripheral vision. It's a kind of unfocused focus or a focused unfocused. But you're paying attention in two different directions. You're paying attention here and you're also paying attention here. Your peripheral eye, your peripheral vision, and your focal point. Your focal point and your peripheral vision are being given the same percentage of attention. Vibrational states of beingness instantly brings about physical appearances. Okay, it can't get no more simpler than that. If you don't get that, I can't help you. Next doorway is in third dimension. This is third dimensional mechanics, to understand certain things in third dimension. The illusion of doubt, worry, and stress. The illusion of doubt, worry, and stress. What we call doubt, worry, and stress, are dying vibrations and old bodily discharges with a short fused and exposed wire, looking for a present charge from the outlet of the mind's present attention, as well as the mind's focus and belief in it. For what reason? To give that discharge a supposed boost into the mind's present state. This is what we call doubt, worry, and stress. I just made a metaphor, a certain kind of way of understanding dealing with a discharge, a short fuse, and an exposed wire, looking for an outlet from the mind's present energy and the mind's present moment, the mind's present attention, the mind's present focus. It's a bodily discharge. It's a discharge, and the discharge is a ridding. It's a leaving. There's no charge there, so it's a old discharge. That's what we call doubt, worry, and stress. And these doubt, worry, and stress only exist in the past, what we call past, and what we identified as future. Nothing exists in the present moment but bliss. Nothingness. The present moment is not a waiting room waiting for other shit to begin to invade it. That doesn't exist. It's not a waiting room. It's a creating room. The present moment is not a waiting room. It's not somewhere where you wait. It's somewhere where you begin to create. If you don't create something and fill that space, that old, dying, worry, stress, and doubt, or future, whatever, it will try to jump in there because it's an open space, free for all. Fill that space with creation or recreation, whatever your knowledge of what I'm talking about is at, whatever the understanding is to you. Doubt, worry, and stress are what we call spot traders or spot switchers. Things that are no longer present, things that hasn't happened, and things that may never happen. They only exist in the dimension of a past or a future, not the present realm. They exist in dimension of the past or a dimension of the future, but not the realm or the plane of the present moment. But they seem to feed on the present if you let them, and switch spots with you to keep you out of your present. For what reason? To imbue its purpose, its agenda. Remember, it's not a mean or a bad thing. It's just the damn program that you've programmed yourself, that you have to begin deprogramming and reprogramming the new you. Doubt, worry, and stress, what has been identified as doubt, worry, and stress, is a very vampiric energy that we invite, create, and keep present. As long as it can remain in your present, as long as you keep it present, for better words, it gets to exist. But it can only exist from afar, not a state, or from afar, from a state of actual non-existence. It doesn't exist. It has no life. We are the only thing that contains life. So it feeds off of our life force if we give it life through our attention. It's the science. It is a vibration vampire that enters in through the head and tries to find vibratory resonance within the lower body. A vibration vampire that tries to keep us under its vibratory spell. But all we have to do is stop vibing with it, or vibrating with it, and vibrating as it. By occupying our own presence with present intentions. And when you do that, the succubant vibration disappears from starvation and dies from starvation. You're not feeding it attention anymore. It dies from the starvation of your attention. Do this. Begin to do this. Eliminate 4 words completely out of your vocabulary. Eliminate 4 words out of your mental dictionary and your vocabulary. These 4 words are probably, might, maybe, and possibly. Probably, might, maybe, and possibly. Eliminate this out of your mental dictionary and your vocabulary. These words, these 4 words, are actually 4 hidden vampires that keep you its host. Doubt, worry, and stress is a 3rd dimensional resident. It's a 3rd dimensional resident. But you exist between the 4th and 7th realm and plane of existence. It does not and cannot exist in a realm or a plane of existence. It can only exist within a dimension, not a realm or plane of existence. This is why the more high you begin thinking, the higher frequency, the higher dimensions, the higher geometries of mind that you begin to gradually graduate to, this doubt, worry, and stress begins to disappear automatically without you even knowing. It cannot survive there. It doesn't vibrate there. That's not its frequency. It can't live there. And it does not exist in those dimensions, unless, or those realms and planes of existence, unless you give it directions to that location and let it roam around freely. But still in all, it still can't stay there. It's going to drop back down to the dimensional state or dimensional place. Its dimensional place. It's not going to, it doesn't exist, and it can't survive in a realm or plane of existence. When it is no longer in one's focus, it can no longer be held in place anymore. Next doorway. Is the beating a seeding? S-E-E-D. Is the beating a seeding? The heartbeat beats through, keep this in mind. I teach this in class. I touch upon a lot of things I'm touching upon my channel in class. Y'all need to sign up for the class and course. I appreciate y'all for signing up already. And a lot of y'all buying stuff for the products off the website. It's very much appreciated. I'm going to the post office every damn other day. As you can see, y'all see how powerful these products are. And you see the results in your reality instantly, in your life. I told you in the videos, and you're telling me back in return what you are experiencing. Stay centered, stay balanced, because you see that your reality is actually shifting. But I forewarned you at the time, these are not products. These are spiritual concoctions. Real deal shit. Keep this in mind. I would call myself like a quantum synthologist or synthetologist, if I was to call myself anything. A quantum synthetologist. I deal with the quantum and the synthesizing intelligence of life. Keep this in mind. The heart beats in your chest, the heartbeat beats through the sockets of the skull, where your eyeballs at, and pockets of the eyeballs. So the heartbeat beats through the sockets of the skull and the pockets of the eyeballs, then into front view. Okay, so it beats through the sockets of the skull and the pockets of the eyeballs into front view. It is a beating in alignment with the mind's present focus and intention, holding a passing vibration seeming as a supposed